Hello everyone. It's good to be with you. I want to talk about something that I think is often deeply misunderstood, especially when it comes to loving someone who tends to pull away, someone with an avoidant attachment style. There's a common belief, a kind of whispered myth, that to make an avoidant partner feel safe, you have to become a blank slate. That you must sand down the edges of your own heart, hide your feelings, and present a perfectly calm, almost unemotional facade. The idea is that if you show too much feeling, you'll scare them away. And while there's a tiny grain of truth in there, nobody, avoidant or not, wants to be flooded with another person's unregulated emotional storms. The deeper, more profound truth is something else entirely. The real magic, the real key to building a lasting, secure connection, isn't about hiding your emotions. It's about courageously and authentically falling in love with your own emotions first, and then having the bravery to let them be seen. Because your authentic emotions, expressed with compassion and clarity, aren't a threat. They are actually the very bridge that can help an avoidant partner find their way back to their own heart, and back to you. They are the guideposts that show what a real, human, heartfelt connection looks like. And today, I want to walk with you through exactly how that works, emotion by emotion. But before we begin, I want to just be real with you for a moment. Today was one of those days. You know the kind. Where your mind feels like a browser with too many tabs open, where the weight of the world feels a little heavier on your shoulders. I thought about postponing this, but then I realized that this is part of it, isn't it? This is the reality of being human. We show up even when we're not perfectly polished. We connect even when we're a little fragmented. And in a way, that vulnerability is the first lesson. So, thank you for your grace. Let's begin this journey together. The first emotion, and perhaps the most magnetic, is happiness. Not a performative, plastered-on smile, but a genuine, resilient sense of happiness that comes from within you. This is incredibly appealing to an avoidant partner, and it's important to understand why. It's not about being a source of endless entertainment for them, it's about what your happiness signals. When you are fundamentally happy, when you find joy in your own life, your own interests, your own being, it creates an atmosphere of profound safety. For an avoidant individual, whose internal world can often be governed by a fear of failure and a dread of not being enough, your happiness is like sunlight breaking through a cloudy day. It tells them, without a single word, that you are not a burden they need to carry. It tells them that the relationship is not a grim project that requires constant, exhausting maintenance. Your happiness communicates that you are a whole person, coming together with them to share in that wholeness. It makes the relationship feel like a sanctuary, not a courtroom. Think of it this way: if every interaction is heavy with unspoken needs and unexpressed dissatisfaction, the avoidant partner will feel like they are constantly on trial, perpetually afraid of saying or doing the wrong thing. But when your baseline is happiness, even when challenges arise, and they will, because that's life, the pressure valve is released. They see that you can have a disagreement about Saturday plans, or a moment of miscommunication, and then bounce back. You can express a need, and even if it's not perfectly met right away, your core happiness isn't obliterated. This resilience is everything. It makes them feel that they can be human, that they can make a mistake, that they can sometimes fumble, without the entire foundation of the relationship cracking. It allows them to breathe, and in that space where they can finally breathe, they can begin to feel. They can start to appreciate you, and the relationship itself, because it doesn't feel like a life or death stressor. Your happiness gives them permission to relax their guard, and love cannot grow in a fortress, it can only grow in a garden. Your happiness is the sun that tends that garden. The second emotion is hope. Now, hope can sometimes get a bad reputation. In some circles, especially those focused on relationship strategy, hope is seen as naive, as a weakness that sets you up for disappointment. I want to reframe that entirely. Hope is not blindness, it is a profound trust in the process of life itself. It is the quiet conviction that even in the midst of difficulty, growth is possible, and that the future holds potential for good. For an avoidant individual, who often operates from a place of needing absolute control to feel safe, your hopefulness is like a calm, steady anchor in what they perceive as a chaotic and unpredictable ocean. They tend to see the world in black and white, all or nothing. I can speak to this from my own past experience. In many areas of my life, career, fitness, personal challenges, I was a risk taker. I could jump into the unknown with barely a second thought. But when it came to relationships, I had walls upon walls. The vulnerability of intimacy felt like the ultimate loss of control. It was terrifying. But being around someone who was genuinely hopeful was disarming. It was comforting. It was like watching someone navigate a foggy path with a quiet lantern, not fearing the fog, but trusting they would find their way. Your hope teaches them, by example, that it's okay to exist in the gray area. That not knowing every single outcome is not a precursor to disaster. That trust is not foolish, but is actually the bedrock of deep connection. Your hopefulness whispers to their fearful heart that life, and love, can be safe even without a rigid, 10-point plan. It motivates them to take a small step out of their fortress because you are standing there, not with a battering ram, but with an open hand and a belief that the step is worth taking. That is incredibly attractive. It's the attraction of freedom, of possibility, of a life that isn't constricted by fear. Now, the third one might surprise you. It's disappointment. Yes, genuine, healthy, compassionately expressed disappointment. This is so crucial. If you try to be a person who is never disappointed, who absorbs every letdown without a flinch, you are not creating safety, you are creating a facade that will eventually crumble, and often, it will crumble in a way that is far more damaging. Showing appropriate disappointment is a form of honesty, and honesty is the foundation of trust. Why does this work? For two main reasons. First, if you never show disappointment, your avoidant partner may unconsciously feel that you are not truly invested. They may feel that they are walking on a surface that has no texture, no friction, and that feels unreal. In the long term, this lack of authentic feedback can feel isolating and even confusing. Second, and more importantly, your genuine disappointment, when expressed not as blame or criticism, but as a simple, heartfelt expression of your hurt, can awaken a deep, protective, and loving instinct within them. It makes the relationship matter. Let me explain this with a metaphor. Think of a parent and a child. In a healthy dynamic, when a child sees genuine, loving disappointment in their parent's eyes, not rage, not shame, but a clear "that hurt me," the child feels a pang of sadness. That sadness isn't destructive, it's relational. It comes from a place of love and connection. The child, on some level, wants to repair the bond, to do better, because the relationship is valuable. The same is true in our adult romantic partnerships. When you express disappointment from a place of love, you are essentially saying, "What you do matters to me. Our connection matters so much that when there's a rift, I feel it." This gives your avoidant partner a sense of responsibility, not a burdensome one, but a meaningful one. It opens a window into their own feelings. They are forced to confront the impact of their actions on someone they care about, and if they care about you, that will stir something within them. It creates a longing to repair, to connect, to be better. It forges attachment. Bottling up disappointment, on the other hand, leads to resentment, which is a silent poison that kills love quietly over time. So, please, don't be afraid of this emotion. Embrace it as a necessary, honest, and ultimately bonding part of any real, intimate relationship. The fourth emotion is empathy. This is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another, to see the world through their eyes without judgment. Avoidant individuals are often drawn to empathetic people, and it's not hard to see why. They spend so much of their lives in an internal battle, often wrestling with a deep-seated sense of shame or a belief that they are somehow flawed or unlovable. They can be their own harshest critics. When they encounter someone who looks at them not with judgment, but with a gentle, understanding empathy, it feels like coming home. It feels like finally being seen, not for their defenses or their walls, but for the tender, struggling human being inside. Your empathy creates a sanctuary for their soul. It tells them, "You are safe with me. Your imperfections are welcome here. Your struggles do not scare me." This is profoundly disarming. Even outside of direct conflict, when they see you extending empathy to others, to a friend, to a family member, even to a character in a movie, it reinforces this message of safety. It makes them feel that you are a person of depth and compassion, someone who will offer a soft place to land in a world that often feels hard and critical. This doesn't mean you become a doormat or that you excuse poor behavior. True empathy has boundaries. It says, "I understand why you might be acting this way, and I hold you capable of doing better." That combination of understanding and belief in their potential is incredibly powerful. It makes them feel flexible, and in turn, they feel they can be more flexible with you. It opens the door for them to be vulnerable, because they trust that you will meet their vulnerability not with judgment, but with compassionate understanding. And that leads us perfectly to the fifth and final emotion, vulnerability. This is the crown jewel. Avoidant individuals often fall in love with people who possess the very strength they feel they lack, the strength to be vulnerable. There's a magnetic attraction to someone who can say, "I'm scared," or "I need you," or "I was hurt by that." It's not seen as a weakness by them. On a deep level, it's recognized as a profound courage. They have spent a lifetime building fortresses around their own hearts, equating vulnerability with danger. So when they see you being vulnerable, open, expressive, authentic about your feelings, it's like watching a master at work. It's a strength they admire and are drawn to. It's similar to why an anxiously attached person might be initially drawn to an avoidant's apparent independence. There's a yearning to integrate that missing piece. For the avoidant, your vulnerability is the missing piece. It models a way of being that they secretly long for but are terrified to embrace. Your willingness to be vulnerable shows them, in real time, that it is possible to open your heart and survive. More than survive, to thrive. It demonstrates that vulnerability is not the end of safety, but the very beginning of true intimacy. It makes you appealing because you are living proof that the thing they fear most is actually the path to the connection they desire most. Your vulnerability gives them permission, slowly and gently, to take down their own bricks, one by one, and to discover the beauty and the freedom of a heart that is truly seen and known. So you see, it was never about becoming less emotional. It was always about becoming more authentically, courageously, and compassionately emotional. Your feelings are not the enemy of a secure relationship with an avoidant partner, they are the architects of it. By embracing your own happiness, your hope, your healthy disappointment, your empathy, and your vulnerability, you are not just loving them, you are offering them a map back to their own humanity. You are creating a language of connection that their soul has been yearning to learn. This journey is as much about you falling in love with your own emotional landscape as it is about sharing it. So I encourage you, be brave. Feel what you feel, and have the courage to let it be seen. Because the love you're building depends not on the absence of feeling, but on its beautiful, messy, and magnificent presence.